My name is Michael Brown. I'm the chair of the MERS Retirement Board. On behalf of the board and staff, glad you could join us this year at the 73rd, it's hard to believe, 73rd Annual Municipal Employees Retirement System Conference. As many of you know, our current CEO, Chris DeRose, will be retiring this coming January. As I welcome all of you to the conference this year, it's with a bit of a heavy heart that this will be Chris's last conference with us. If you've had the opportunity, and I think I've stated this every year, that Chris has been our CEO, if you've had the pleasure to talk with Chris, meet with him, converse one-on-one, you'll appreciate the individual that we have and have had at the lead for the last 7 years. If you haven't had the chance to get to know Chris just a little bit, I'd encourage you to take a minute to introduce yourself and say hello. He is and has been as committed as to MERS and to you as anyone I've ever known. So I greatly appreciate everything he's done, but as more so, if you may, the friend that he is to MERS and the retirement system in general. So Chris, it's been a great pleasure, an honor working with you. We wish you, Barb, and all of your family, which we hear about regularly, all the best that retirement has to offer. Well, thank you very much. With that, as we look forward, the board has a strong governance process in place to guide us in the selection and appointment of MERS' next CEO. We plan to announce that at the end of this year, and after an extensive selection process, the board chose the executive recruiting firm, EFL Associates, to assist us. We're working closely with 2 senior consultants at EFL who have extensive knowledge and experience helping boards recruit and select leaders for public retirement organizations. To date, a comprehensive position description has been put in place and posted, and the board is accepting applications. The board's also actively seeking input and feedback from MERS leadership and others as we are scheduled to begin interviewing candidates this month. There's no doubt that Chris will be missed. However, the board is confident about MERS' future. We remain committed to our vision of providing retirement options that meet your unique workforce and financial needs, that increase financial wellness resources for participants, and consistently deliver services through intuitive processes and systems. This time of year, I'm particularly reminded of how fortunate we are to live and work in the great state of Michigan. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get outside last night. Had we, I would have referred to some of the colors that were changing. Hopefully you'll get an opportunity, although as I look out this morning, it's a little bit gray. It's maybe a good day to be inside where we are. I think the weather forecast has Friday a little bit nicer as we travel home. So, but regardless, I'd encourage you to take a minute to step outside, and if you can see some of the colors, enjoy it. We are in one of the most picturesque places in the state of Michigan. So please take a minute to enjoy it. During the reception last night, which interestingly was, we were hopeful we'd be outside and was slated to be a wonderful event. It turned out, as I talked to everybody, to be equally as enjoyable inside. So I appreciate everybody's accommodation, and to the staff that hustled around to make it work, we appreciate that. But in speaking with board members and MERS staff, we had some wonderful conversations with all of you. And that's a huge part of the conference for us, is to get some input and feedback from you. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us. In a moment, I'd like to introduce the board members. If when I do, you'd stand up for just a minute, and so everybody can see who you are, and then we will get into the meeting. This morning, we're going to kick things off by electing an officer member and an employee member to serve on the retirement board, both for 3-year terms beginning January 1, 2020. Then we'll hear from MERS Chief Executive Officer, Chris DeRose, who's going to provide a preview of what's to come and how to get the most out of the next day and a half. And then we will continue the remainder of the day with breakout sessions. But before I get to that, if you're able, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Move it there. Thank you very much. So, as I previously indicated, my name's Michael Brown. I'm an officer member on the board and the chairperson. I serve as the county administrator for Berry County. Dale Felposh, Dale, if you'd please stand. Dale is an officer member on the board as well. He's vice president and chief financial officer for the Capital Region International Airport located in Lansing. Randy Gerard. Randy is an officer member on the board as well. He's the township manager for Marquette Charter Township. Amy DeFord. Amy is an employee member on the board. She's the retirement administrator for Saginaw County. Jason Serrata. Good morning, Jason. Jason is an employee member on the board, and he is a firefighter and paramedic for Delta Township located in Eaton County. Tina Butler. Morning, Tina. Tina is an employee member on the board. She is the enforcement supervisor for Cass County, friend of the court. Jim Wiersma. Excuse me. Jim is an appointed professional member on the board, and he is president of Family Investment and Resource Management located in Holland. Michael Gilmore. Mike is an appointed professional member on the board. He is Director of Investment Services for Delta Dental, located in Okemos. And John Ogden. John is the retired member on the board. He's the one we all aspire to be. And is the retired Finance Director for the City of Port Huron. Thank you very much. Also present in our meetings are Chris DeRose, our Chief Executive Officer, Valerie Lawver, our Board Secretary, Jeb Burns, our Chief Investment Officer, Carrie Lombardo, our Strategic and External Affairs Officer, Denise Bouquet, our Chief Operating Officer, and Leon Hank, our Chief Financial Officer. If all of you would just stand for a moment as well. I'm guessing that many of you or most of you know these folks, but if you don't, they are the officers in the organization, and please do not hesitate to stop and say hello and ask questions. All right, thank you. And now to the business meeting itself. As chairperson of the MERS Retirement Board, I'd like to call the 73rd Annual Business Meeting of the Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan to order. Our first item of business is old business, and I would ask if there's any old business that a certified delegate would like to bring before the membership. If there is, if you'd please stand up, and I'm struggling to see, John was reminding me of this with the lights. There looks to be a microphone on each side about 2/3 of the way up. If you'd step to one of the microphones. I'll ask one more time if there's any old business. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the minutes. Located in your conference booklet, I believe on page 17, and also on the conference app are the minutes from the 2018 annual business meeting. Directions to locate the minutes and other business meeting documents can be found on the screen behind me. Is there a delegate who would like to step to one of the microphones and make a motion to approve the minutes of the 2018 Municipal Employees Retirement System annual business meeting? If I could get someone to step to a microphone, state your name and the municipality you are with, that would be wonderful. Wonderful, thank you. And then while that's going on, if I could get whoops, I heard Chuck. Okay. I'm sorry about that, Chuck. Just, okay, yell it out for me. And it's Chuck? Chuck Varner, Oscoda County. Thank you, Chuck. So I got Redford Township. Did you catch the first name, Valerie? Thank you, Valerie. So I do have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the 2018 annual business meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Is there anyone opposed? All right, thank you very much. Next item of business on the agenda is consideration and approval of updated board nomination and election procedures. A copy of the procedures with the proposed changes, which have been highlighted in green, is located in the conference booklet on page 18, I believe, and also on the conference app. The MERS Act and plan document require the board to establish and maintain board nomination and election procedures. They also require the board to present any proposed changes to the membership at the annual conference following the proposal of those for adoption by the delegates in attendance. The current version of the board nomination and election procedures was last updated and approved by the delegates at the annual conference in September of 2009. The proposed changes are intended to address questions which are routinely received from annual conference attendees and to improve the overall clarity of the document. So I would ask if there is anyone that would like to step to a microphone and make a motion and also make a second. Could I get someone to make a motion? Anyone?
Vivian Connor, Berry County. I would make the motion to accept the changes in the rules.
All right, thank you, Vivian. So I do have a motion.
Second by Andrea Herman, Wexford County Road Commission.
Thank you, Andrea. I do have a second. So we have a motion and second to accept the proposed changes to the membership, to the board nomination and election procedures. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Now, is there any new business that a certified delegate would like to bring before the membership? Again, if there is, if you'd step to one of the microphones, I'll ask again, is there any new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to board nomination and election. At this point, I'd like to ask John Ogden to step up to the lectern and explain the board nomination and election process. While he's doing that, profiles for each of the term's candidates are located in the business meeting section of the conference booklet, as well as, on pages, I believe, 22 and 23, as well as the business meeting section of the conference app. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning. Each year at the annual MERS business meeting, an election is held to elect individual members to serve on the MERS Retirement Board. The MERS plan document requires that the system hold an annual meeting to elect retirement board members and to conduct other business. So this is really the only thing that's called for, is the election. Now is the time for this year's election. The election will be for 2 positions, an officer board member and an employee board member. Each person elected will serve a 3-year term. Voting is open to all employee and employer delegates. A red tag on your name tag identifies you as a voting delegate. Each voting delegate may vote for all open board positions. So for this year, each delegate can vote for 1 officer position and 1 employee position. And before we start with the election, let me give you a brief overview of the process. Candidates can declare themselves prior to an established deadline before the annual meeting, and there can also be nominations from the floor at today's meeting. Once nominations are closed, candidates will have the opportunity to introduce themselves to you by telling you a little bit about themselves. Voting will take place after all delegates have had a chance to speak. As previously stated, only delegates can vote, and whether you are an employee or an employer delegate, you can vote for both offices. MERS staff will assist in distributing and collecting the ballots, and we have volunteer tellers from the membership who will count the ballots in a separate room. These tellers are Emily Green from Grand Haven, Ed Brennan from Port Huron, Jeff Anderson from Delta Township, and David Sabuda from Smart. And so now it's time to open the nominations for the employee board member. We have 1 declared candidate, Tina Butler from Cass County. Are there any nominations from the floor? And if there are, please step to one of the microphones. Not seeing anyone coming to a microphone, could I have a motion to close the nominations? Would someone please step to a microphone to close the nominations, and then a second?
Jim Brennan from the city of Port Huron. I move that the nominations be closed.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Do we have a second?
Andrea Herman, Wexford County Road Commission.
Thank you. So the nominations for the employee member are closed. It's also time to open the nominations for the employer board member. We have 1 declared candidate, Michael Brown from Berry County. Are there any nominations from the floor? I have these lights in my eyes, but I don't think I see any. Is there someone who could make a motion to close the nominations? Again, please step to the microphone, state your name and your community.
My name is Kenneth Grant from the city of Muskegon. I make a motion to close it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? Please.
Cindy Shields, Davison Township.
There we go.
Cindy Shields, Davison Township, second.
Thank you. So we've had a motion and a second to close the nominations for the employer board member. Since the employee and employer positions are not contested, could I have a motion to declare a unanimous ballot for both the employee and the employer position, and to declare Tina Butler and Michael Brown the elected employee and employee board members respectively? And again, please step to the microphone, state your name and your community.
Anne Marie Main, Presque Isle County. I make a motion to close nomination and cast unanimous ballot.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Frances McMullen, City of Ypsilanti. I second.
Thank you. So congratulations to Michael and to Tina. You have been re-elected to the board. And thank you to my volunteer tellers who did not have to do any work. So, at this point, I'd like to ask MERS CEO Chris DeRose to present the State of the MERS report. So, Chris.
So, welcome to the 73rd MERS Annual Conference, and thank you for being a part of MERS. Your presence here and membership is greatly appreciated, and we know you have a choice. It is with great pleasure that we welcome you to the Grand Traverse Resort for what is sure to be another educational and exciting event. I think this is likely to be the best conference ever. This year, we look forward to offering 14 different breakout sessions focusing on hot topics for both plan employers and participants. These sessions are presented by MERS staff and industry experts who are ready to answer your questions and to engage in some insightful conversation. In the next few minutes, I'm going to discuss with you how you can get the most out of the conference using the conference app. You'll see that there are lots of educational opportunities, and there's some time to have some fun too. As I share with you how MERS is doing, I'm also going to connect you with the sessions that we will be having for the next day and a half. So, with record attendance this year, the highest attendance we've ever had, I encourage you to create your own personal schedule using the app, as this will help you to ensure that you're able to attend sessions and that we can know room capacities and plan accordingly. The app not only gives you access to the conference schedule and speaker bios, but you can also get the session presentations and a full attendee list so that you can network. Once again, we'll be having the Click Challenge, an interactive game within the MERS conference app that encourages you to network, interact, and share your experience throughout the event. This conference is for you, and we want you to get the most out of it. Please take the opportunity to meet with MERS staff and board members and network with your peers at events like the reception tonight. I'm very proud of the team we have at MERS. Like so many of you in your jobs, the thing that motivates my coworkers is service. So please reach out, ask them questions, and if they don't know the answer, they will connect you with someone who can. We want to be of service. So let's start out with who MERS is. While I think it's safe to say that most of you in the room already know this, we are an independent entity that was created by the Michigan legislature to administer retirement plans for Michigan's local units of government. Each retirement system is designed at the local level, which means that the provisions that were put in place were not our decision. Our responsibility at MERS is to ensure that each plan is making reasonable progress to be funded adequately. Today, we manage over 3,300 retirement plans for nearly 9,000 local units of government, covering over 100,000 participants with a combined value of over $11 billion. Over the past few years, we have intentionally moved this business meeting to the morning of the first day. We've done this to kick off the conference with a common understanding of MERS, our governance structure, and some of the key trends in the industry. In short, why we hope you will feel confident in putting your trust in us at MERS. I want to start this morning with our purpose, what we believe. This is why those of us who work at MERS come to work. Though these are the people who have the green staff tag on the bottom of their badges. Everything that we do is to ensure that you have what you need financially for retirement. We do that by providing great customer service and keeping your costs low. It really is that simple. In 2 words, we strive for superior value. And we do this with a personal touch. Often, we will do this one-on-one with our teams that are located right here in Michigan. Our regional teams cover the state and are always available to you. I know it's a small thing, but I think it illustrates our commitment to that personal touch and to service. Right now, if you call our call center, the wait times are among the lowest that I personally have ever experienced. Most people will get through to a live person within 60 seconds. In fact, 80% will have us answer the phone within 30 seconds. If you need education, our educators will come to you. We do this because we think it is how you provide superior value. Yes, this world is moving in the way of Amazon and online for everything, and so are we, but we believe the personal touch is still important, and so we're going to provide both. We do this by creating a team of people who really care about others and who care about you. We care about Michigan, and we care about public service and public servants, and we really work hard at it. That's it. That's what we do. In the past 7 years, I've traveled the state talking to many of you. Among other places, I have been to Detroit, Hillsdale, Portage, Marquette, and Traverse City just this year. In almost every conversation that I have, I'm told the name or names of people at MERS that you appreciate working with. Since this is one of my last opportunities to thank them, I want to ask the MERS staff who are present to stand. Now, these folks who are standing represent themselves, but they also stand in the place of the people across the state in our Lansing offices, that are teams that are spread across the state and who could not be here. I'm talking about my fellow officers, the steering team members, our managers, the people who invest your money, who build our IT systems, who answer your calls and your emails, who calculate your pensions, who provide education, who prepare you for retirement, and those who provide administrative support. If you wouldn't mind, would you help me recognize these individuals? Thank you very much. So one of the primary reasons local units of government choose MERS is because we take on the fiduciary responsibility. Simply put, this means that you are not on your own. You're not alone. And as you would expect, we have an in-house legal staff, we have internal auditors to ensure that the rules are followed and that the data is all correct. And I think it's important to know that MERS is governed by an independent elected board that operates without compensation. The MERS board is committed to accountability and to transparency, holding the line on administrative costs, and watching out for the best interests of our members, for you all. Our 9-member board consists of 3 officers, 3 employee members, 2 appointed members from the investment community, and 1 retiree member. Our board spends hours wrestling with complex and impactful matters, and we are grateful for their work. I personally have witnessed all this effort up close. I think it's true that we can say that the years following the Great Recession have been the most difficult in the history of managing public retirement systems. I want to personally acknowledge the board's efforts over these past several years to ensure that MERS is meeting your needs, and I would like you to help me recognize the board for their service. I especially want to thank Michael Brown, who has chaired the MERS board for these last 7 years. He has been a steady and positive force for change. Michael, thank you. I have so enjoyed working with you. So this is MERS' vision statement. Maybe you've worked for an organization, I know I have, that has a vision statement, but then ends up not living it. That's not true of our team, and that's not true of our board. Simply put, our 2020 vision is focused on knowing our customers better, delivering services that are consistent and easy to use, continuing to help local units of government provide affordable benefits, while supporting participants' efforts to improve financial wellness. All of that with a personal touch. As we approach the last year of our 2017 to 20 strategic plan, I think it's important to reflect on our progress. One of the ways, that we listen to your feedback is through our annual Voice of the Customer report that integrates data from our IT systems, industry trend reports, and the annual surveys that you respond to. This information feeds our strategic planning process and business planning efforts. While overall satisfaction in MERS is at an all-time high, both from employers and from participants, we aren't going to stop there. We've heard, for example, that there is still room for improvement with the intuitiveness of our employer monthly wage and service reporting and the need for more self-service actuarial tools. You have told us of the importance of financial wellness efforts, and it's interesting that the participants' length to retirement plays a key factor in how you rate our communications and information. The closer the participant is to retiring, the more interaction and communication you have with us, the more satisfied you are. The challenge is to engage with the younger audiences with topics that are relevant to them. We've been administering retirement plans for over 70 years. When MERS started in 1945, we had just 14 plans. We're now managing well over 3,000. We are constantly evolving our processes to work more efficiently and to improve your overall experience working with us. We process many different kinds of transactions. For example, in 2018, we handled nearly 3,000 benefit estimates, more than 31,000 healthcare savings program claims, over 2,000 retirement applications, and nearly 200 plan design changes. Plan design changes like when you close your plan to defined contribution or you lower the multiplier going forward for new employees or cost sharing. This year, we rolled out the ability for participants to manage their beneficiaries online. We are happy to report that 80% of all beneficiary changes are now happening online. This not only allows participants the ability to update this very important information instantly and securely, but it also helps us to be more efficient and more cost-effective. In the next year, you're going to see us continue to expand and enhance our online processes, and we will begin offering online retirement applications. In addition, as we move more transactions online, we need to ensure we have proper cybersecurity protocols in place. I think it will be benefit to that you will all benefit from the session with Dan Lorman, who's Chief Security Officer and Chief Strategist with Security Mentor, tomorrow morning at 11:15, as he discusses how to protect your data in a world with new cybersecurity threats. Speaking of costs and keeping them reasonable, as a multiple employer plan, MERS creates economies of scale by pooling together assets for investment purposes, while maintaining separate accounts for each municipality. As our membership continues to grow, so do the operational efficiencies, and these savings are passed along to our members. As I said, we strive for superior value. In the last 7 years, we've reduced our costs on a percentage basis by over 30%. In 2018, our administrative costs were the same as they were in 2009. In addition, we've gained 272 new municipalities, approaching about 85% of local units of government are now part of MERS. In addition, for those that are watching the participant-directed accounts, we again reduced by 2 basis points the fees in January. For the defined benefit plan, required contributions are calculated by our actuaries using assumptions about future events. These assumptions fall into 2 broad categories. Economic, think investment return assumption or what we think is going to happen with wage inflation. Or demographic, think about how long people are living and what the assumed retirement rates are. Managing this data is key to having sound funding policies as we use the data to make assumptions about future events and calculations. In a nutshell, that's what actuarial services are about. Beginning in March of this year, we began communicating with you about updated economic assumptions, those being the investment return assumption and the wage inflation. While these changes won't impact your contributions until 2021, we know, based on feedback that you've given us, that you want this information as soon as possible, and that's why we've provided it to you starting in March. In addition, each year, when you look at your valuation, you'll see that there are 6-year budget projections with what are called what-if scenarios that show contributions and funding levels with different market volatility scenarios. And we hope you find that useful when you're budgeting. We are here to partner with you, helping you achieve your fiscal goals by reviewing your options to find the programs and provisions that best fit your group's unique needs. In fact, our regional teams meet one-on-one with each customer at least once a year to review your plans in depth. We sit with you and help you make the decisions to keep your plan sustainable and affordable. Again, the personal touch. As you are most likely aware, we also provide assistance with PA 202 reporting requirements, including timelines and guidelines. PA 202 is the recently passed law that has increased oversight from state government. We are also in the process of reviewing our experience study with the demographic assumptions, that second group of assumptions, through an experience study. Demographic assumptions not only look forward, but they also look back at actual experience. So it is important to have 5 years of data to review. Our actuaries have begun looking at the data, and while the analysis is not complete, based on industry trends, we are forecasting continued increases in participant longevity. In other words, we're all living just a little bit longer, which can also have an impact on your contributions. Any changes to those demographic assumptions will affect your FY 2022 contributions. For more information on how defined benefit plans work and the experience study, I suggest you attend the session, a look ahead at DB retirement plans, or the session DB Mechanics Part 1, and the other session DB Mechanics Part 2. These are offered multiple times during the conference. So, as a retirement plan, we operate over long-term horizons. It's important to focus on long-term rates of return rather than any single year. Our investment returns consistently outperform our benchmarks through a long-term approach designed to provide downside protection and upside market participation. History shows us that market performance will fluctuate from one year to the next. Global markets exhibited elevated levels of volatility as 2018 progressed, culminating in a significant fourth quarter correction across all financial markets. Global equities drove our total portfolio's performance to be negative for last year. But diversifying strategies, real assets, and fixed income asset classes provided much needed diversification and positive returns to balance off the fall in equities. Fortunately, the portfolio continues to outperform consistently for long terms. In fact, our 35-year return is 8.84%, which is above the long-term target that we're using of 7.75. This graph shows the growth of $10,000 in the MERS defined benefit portfolio. MERS returns have consistently exceeded the investment return assumption over long periods of time. So I would urge you to join MERS Chief Investment Officer Jeb Burns on tomorrow morning at 8:30 for an update on how we're doing on our investment portfolio. You will learn more about the investment policy statements, which guide the team in making decisions, as well as best practices when it comes to choosing investment managers. This session will help you better understand how MERS Investments operates and the safeguards that are in place to protect assets during times of market volatility. If you're a participant, I'd suggest you check out the Taking Steps Toward Your Financial Goals session, which is offered twice today and throughout the conference. That will walk you through investment basics and savings options. So let's focus a bit on financial wellness. We provide education and financial planning resources for all of our customers, whether you're a new hire or whether you have 25 years of service. We have education and resources for your needs. We believe education is a critical component to what we do, And we know you do as well. In fact, our last survey with information from you all showed that 89% of you believe participant education is critical. In 2018, our certified financial education instructors provided education for over 7,500, that's where I wanted to be. 7,500 participants, took nearly 33,000 calls, reached 15,000 people through webinars and Facebook Live events, saw over 7,000 reads on our Sensibility blog, and have over 500 of you here today at this conference. Tim Clue will be joining us at 12:30 today to talk about how to increase trust and connections with your teams as we work through laughter. Tim has a very interesting background, starting out as an educator, then moving on to be a comedy writer, then turning into a comic himself, and now as a motivational speaker. He has presented before former President George H.W. Bush and has opened for Jerry Seinfeld. I think you're going to find that enjoyable. You also may be interested in the session, the breakout session, Strategies to Effectively Manage Your Personal Finances this morning at 11 a.m. and tomorrow morning at 9:45. Backed by popular demand, you can also attend the overview of Social Security, often standing room only in that session, which is offered twice today and once tomorrow. As I mentioned earlier, this graph shows the dynamic of how participants closer to retirement have significantly higher confidence that they're doing a good job in preparing for retirement. While this is great news for those who are less than 1 year from retirement, it also shows the importance of starting these conversations early. You may be interested in our new session this year, Mentoring the Next Generation to be Money Smart, which is offered today at 11 and tomorrow at 2:45. I think arguably the time since 2008 and the Great Recession has been the most difficult time in managing and stabilizing retirement plans, as we have continually worked to improve your trust in us. We improved customer satisfaction scores through these, which are at the top of this slide, through intentional listening with you, and listening and then doing what you've asked from us and taking action. This rating, by the way, is the highest in financial services, even higher than the group that was the highest, credit unions. So, and I asked the question, well, does anybody get 100? And apparently nobody ever achieves 100 on this index. We created new and innovative retirement and healthcare products for local units of government, and we've seen growth in new membership and current membership through cross-enrollment. We've gained even more buying power by increasing the pool of assets by 50%. And while I said at the beginning, and as I said at the beginning, we are not done yet. These are the places we'll be focusing in the future. We understand that the next decade will continue to be challenging for local units of government in Michigan. Financial stress continues at the local level as revenues struggle to match rising costs, especially in employee and retiree benefits and infrastructure. Regulatory pressure, including from the state of Michigan, will continue to increase. Employer and participant demands for portable, affordable, sustainable retirement plans will grow in response to the changing workforce dynamics that you all face. And finally, low interest rates will continue to pull investment returns below historical levels, and economic and political market trends show that the needs of plan participants continue to evolve, especially in the area of investment education and financial wellness. So we have lots of challenges and much work to do. As I close, I want to thank you again for choosing MERS. 7 years ago, I stood at a podium just like this in Grand Rapids, and I introduced myself to many of you. Some things have changed. I have different glasses. I did actually look at the video. My hair color is a little different. It was mostly brown back then. And Barb and I have 3 more grandchildren. in the last 7 years. I told you then that the years ahead may be the most difficult we have all faced, but we are in this together. At that time, we, MERS, set as our goal to be your partner. I think some of you will recall that you were pretty frustrated with MERS because you felt we weren't listening. We wanted, we have wanted to be more than just a vendor to you. We've wanted to be your partner. We wanted to roll up our sleeves, figure out what you needed, and then we wanted to deliver. And you met us halfway. We were able to create a true partnership, and this has been tough, but it's been satisfying work. I'm extremely grateful, and I thank you all for that partnership. Just some final reminders. Oh, yes, we are offering again HR and CPA continuing ed credits for many of the sessions. And this year we are scanning the code on your badge to track your attendance. More information on that can be found in the app and the conference program. I also encourage you, please, to fill out the session surveys, or feel free to seek me out or others on our staff if you have concerns. We take all of that feedback to make the conference better for next year. And I hope you'll all join us tonight at tonight's tailgate-themed reception and dinner. Feel free to wear your favorite team's spirit wear and bring your best bag toss skills. With that, I will turn it back to Michael Brown. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. With that, gotta get my script, sorry about that. Having received no resolutions prior to the annual conference, I now declare the floor open for any questions that the membership might have. Are there any questions that anybody has? If you do, if you'd step to the microphone, please. No questions, no takers? All right. With that, then, I would entertain a motion and a second to adjourn the 73rd Annual Business Meeting of the Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan. Could I get someone to step to the microphone and make a motion? If not, we'll just adjourn because I'm sinking up here.
Luke Potter, City of Clare, and make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Luke. Could I get a second?
Ken Grant, City of Muskegon. I make a motion second to adjourn.
Thank you very much. I think, was it Ken?
Kenneth Grant.
Kenneth Grant from Muskegon. Thank you. All right, we do have a motion and a second to adjourn the 73rd Annual Business Meeting. Is there any final discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion is carried. All right, I hope you enjoy the breakout sessions this morning, and look forward to seeing everyone back in this room this afternoon for lunch and our afternoon general session. Thank you.